I propose that we build a robot child who can love, a robot child who will genuinely love the parent or parents it imprints on with a love that will never end.
Lifelike robots with artificial intelligence are commonplace in the world of the future, but scientist William Hurt wants to create a new model in Steven Spielberg's AI. I'm Richard Roeper.
And I'm Roger Ebert. AI was in development for years by the legendary director Stanley Kubrick, who passed it on to Steven Spielberg, but still gets a credit and a dedication. In the future, global warming has flooded many cities, but the United States still prospers thanks to its lead in developing intelligent robots called mechas. Frances O'Connor and Sam Robards play a couple whose son is in a coma. The husband brings home a cute little mecha named David as a consolation, but at first his wife is enraged.
I'll return him to Cyberdronics first thing in the morning. It's gone.
Good. Henry, did you see his face? He's so real. But he's not.
No, he's not.
David is played by Haley Joel Osment from The Sixth Sense, who proves once again he's one of the best young actors in movie history. Little David looks real, but he's a machine inside, and yet he desperately wants to belong. David has read Pinocchio, and he thinks that somewhere there's a blue fairy who will transform him into a real boy. He goes on a quest with Joe, a gigolo mecha, played by Jude Law.
Is Blue Fairy mecha, ogre, man, or woman?
Woman.
Woman. I know women. They sometimes ask for me by name. I know all about women. About as much as there is to know. No two are ever alike. And after they've met me, no two are ever the same.
It's uncanny the way AI mirrors the structure of Kubrick's famous 2001. Man invents a new tool, the tool makes a visionary journey possible, and then mysterious creatures create a familiar environment to study the traveler, who in this case is the tool instead of the tool's makers. The film is filled with visual wonders and astonishing special effects. I'm giving a thumbs up for sure, and yet somehow AI, like David, doesn't have a heart. It wants us to care about a character who is essentially, let's face it, just a computer program. The test of any artificial intelligence is when the computer convinces you it's human. When David spends 2,000 years on hold, I was looking at a computer glitch, not a little boy.
Well, I like this movie a lot, but I think the problem is that it tries to have a heart when it shouldn't. To be more honest, probably to Kubrick's original vision, and I think Spielberg does try to respect that. There's a certain chilliness and starkness to the story, but not without, I don't want to give away too much here, but then he has to go for that golden glow moment at the end, toward the end, and I thought...
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, because Kubrick, I think, would have been a little more astringent. He was sometimes charged with not having a heart in his movies, that it was all brain. But I think in this case, what we're talking about is an artificial brain, and there's a little bit of a problem in the fact that this little boy isn't a real little boy, and he's never going to be a little boy, and we know that, and he doesn't, and so we're not on the same page.
There are moments early on where I thought this might be like a horror movie on the level of The Shining, that this kid wasn't quite wired in the right way and that he was going to go psycho, and that might have been interesting as well. But there was a moment in this movie where it should have ended, and it didn't, and it kept going, and I thought that diminished it. Also, there's some inconsistencies with the characters. I mean, the little boy is supposed to be the only one of these mechas who has the ability to love, but the other ones do seem to have a lot of emotions. Jude Law, his character of Joe, doesn't have that love imprint, but he does seem to have the cynicism microchip.
You are neither flesh nor blood. You are not a dog or a cat or a canary. You were designed and built specific like the rest of us. And you are alone now only because they tired of you, or replaced you with a younger model, or were displeased with something you said or broke. They made us too smart, too quick, and too many.
This is a wild movie. There are some frightening scenes in here and some, as you mentioned, some great visuals. I mean, some of the best effects I've ever seen, where we see something like New York City half underwater, and it really looks like New York City's underwater.
You know, I want to go back a little bit to what you said about the end of the movie. I think it kind of goes off the track a little bit with that strange fantasy about his hang-up with the Blue Fairy, and yet I don't want to get hung up on that because this is a movie that has some amazing things in it. And as I was sitting there was a time, maybe at about the hour-and-a-half mark, when I thought this is the best movie of the year.
Right.
I think that maybe, you know, it should have been a little more true to its original impetus and not try to get into the sentimental stuff, but still.
Our disappointment is based on...
It's a very good movie.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that I think we're both a little bit disappointed, but we like it a lot, is because we thought it could have been a masterpiece.
Later in the show, Eddie Murphy not only talks to the animals, but becomes their sex therapist in Dr. Dolittle 2.
How would you like to meet the man of your dreams?
You're real cute, but I don't go interspecies.
Coming up next, Vin Diesel and several other Diesels star in The Fast and the Furious.
So what's up with you, man?
I'm just waiting for Toretto.
You better get in line. It's yours?
Yeah, I'm standing next to it.
Paul Walker is Brian, a rebel with a chip on his shoulder and highlights in his hair in The Fast and the Furious, an excruciatingly familiar mishmash of howlingly bad dialogue and overblown chase and race scenes. In the not-so-great tradition of Point Break and Stone Cold, if you remember that one, Walker plays an undercover cop who infiltrates a team of hard-living motorheads in order to bring down their legendary leader. Vin Diesel is Dominic, who rules the world of illegal drag racing in Los Angeles.
So check it out, it's like this. I lose, winner takes my car clean and clear. But if I win, I take the cash and I take the respect.
With all the firepower under the hoods of these tricked-up cars, I'm figuring these guys are getting about 2 miles to the gallon.
Shut up!
Now, I love that Brian has a laptop to guide him, even as his car is going faster than a Cessna. Now, of course, the kingpin in movies like this always has a little sister for the cop to fall in love with, which, of course, will cause him to lose his edge. As the fetching Mia, Jordana Brewster is as flawless as a mannequin and just about as animated.
There's a problem.
What's that?
You need to get some sleep. And you definitely need a shower.
You don't expect a movie like this to be steeped in realism, but I've seen Speed Racer cartoons that were more believable.
Move out of the way! I'm coming to get him!
The streets here are often conveniently deserted for the extended race scenes that play like video game sequences, complete with this relentless pounding music. Nor are these criminals really that dangerous. As best as I could tell, they spend tens of thousands of dollars to soup up their cars in order to steal stuff like DVD players from trucks. The Fast and the Furious, I don't know, I think the dumb and the reckless is more like it.
I really like this movie. I think it's in the great tradition of summer drive-in movies. It goes back to movies like Death Race 2000 and Grand Theft Auto, and it is so much better than a movie like Last Summer's Gone in 60 Seconds. It has interesting characters. Vin Diesel has something going for him, I think. It has utterly ridiculous scenes. I love the fact that in L.A. there is no traffic and no cops, which we know, of course, is the way it really is in L.A. And I just felt that it got exactly what it wanted to get done. It just kind of delivered this kind of summer exploitation mentality in a clever way instead of a dumb way.
I'm thinking between this and Tomb Raider that you're going after the job that David Manning, the fictional critic who likes all these movies, is going after. You are
I'll stand behind both of those films.
You are being so kind to
Pauline
this,
Kael
Roger.
said, if we cannot enjoy great trash, there is... She said, what did she say?
You know what? I like great trash, too.
The movies are so rarely great art, she said, that if we can't enjoy great trash, why should we go?
You know,
This is great trash.
I like great trash. I've given thumbs up to movies that other people think, oh my God, that's a bunch of garbage. But this thing, even for what it's trying to do...
You have to have the trashometer. A thumbs up for this movie, thumbs down for Mummy Returns.
Even the drag racing scenes. I mean, it's just the music keeps playing in the same way. It sounds just like a video game, and they're going straight.
That's an ironic point.
And they're hitting those little rocket booster things, and then they go faster.
It's
What's
a little
interesting
satirical
about that?
point that they want you to think it's like a video game.
So you're saying they were aware they were making a bad movie and they were having fun with it?
They weren't aware they were making a bad movie. They knew they were doing that with the music.
They did make a bad movie, though. With some bad acting.
Okay, coming up next, Eddie Murphy is drafted into a Woodland Army in Dr. Dolittle 2.
Sure, I got rabies. I could bite somebody, but I can only do so much.
And looking ahead to next week's openings, Kirsten Dunst and Jay Hernandez are star-crossed lovers in Crazy Beautiful.
Oh, that... It's my dad.
Yeah, Dr. Dolittle, I presume. Welcome to my den. Would you like a fish?
Oh, no thank you. I've eaten already.
Hey, the beaver offers you a fish. You take the fish.
The God Beaver, who is the godfather of the forest, asks Eddie Murphy a favor he can't refuse in Dr. Dolittle 2. Evil timber tycoons want to cut down the trees, and the animals, also including Joey the raccoon, can only be saved by the veterinarian who can talk to the animals. Dolittle discovers a female bear of a rare species on the land and recruits Archie the circus bear to mate with her because bad guys won't be able to disturb this land if it harbors a protected species.
What I'm proposing to you is I'd like to take you back to where your ancestors roamed, get you out in the woods and teach you to be a real bear.
Look, I like the bear I am, okay? I'm famous. Look, have you been to the gift shop? I have my own Beanie Baby.
You do this, I promise you'll be the most famous bear in all the world.
Bigger than Pooh.
That's Steve Zahn as the voice of Archie, and he's the funniest thing in the movie as a showbiz bear who hates the idea of living in the woods with all the bugs and bad weather. But Dolittle is persuasive, and Archie meets his blind date, Ava.
Hi, I'm Archie. I like moonlit walks on the beach, sharing slop buckets with that special someone, and soulful sounds of the Backstreet Boys.
You're very weird.
And that's Lisa Kudrow as Ava's voice. Dr. Dolittle 2 also has a plot involving the courtship habits in the doctor's own family. He's nervous because his daughter, played by Raven Simone, has started to date.
Dr. D, what's going on?
Excuse me?
Remember me, Eric, Domino's Pizza, extra cheese, anchovies, tomatoes, guacamole?
You the pizza guy?
Yeah, I delivered that.
Oh, thanks a lot, man. What, I forget to give you a tip? I'm sorry.
No. That's cool. You gave me something a little better than the
Now, I'm
tip.
gonna take care of you, man, because you know it's nice to have a little...
What's up, baby? What's going on? You ready?
But the best scenes are in the woods, and the best laughs come from the circus bear, as voiced by Steve Zahn, who's about as happy to camp out overnight as Woody Allen would be. Once again, Eddie Murphy shows, as in the Nutty Professor movies, his genius at interacting with special effects. Dr. Dolittle is aimed at younger audiences, I'd say grade school, and it works at that level. I'd recommend it for kids up to about 12, but older audiences, I think, are going to find it pretty cornball.
Yeah, and that's why I'm giving it thumbs down. If you have a 9-year-old, drop the kid off at the theater and pick her up in an hour and a half. Don't go in yourself, because it's too cute, it's too cloying, and there are a couple of laughs, but it just seemed to me like they're just kind of going through the paces.
But now listen, if they're making a movie for kids, and it works for kids, then don't you have to give it thumbs up?
No.
They're not making it
No,
for you.
because there are more people in the world than just kids, and they outnumber the kids.
Okay.
So
But the bear is kind of fun.
I'm not a 9-year-old girl, as I think you could probably tell. So for me, did I enjoy it enough to recommend it? No, I didn't.
Okay. Although
sense?
you would recommend it enough to recommend it to 9-year-old girls.
Just the 9-year-old girls, not their parents, and not their 14-year-old brothers either, okay? All right, our next movie is The Princess and the Warrior, the story of some deeply disturbed misfits whose paths keep crossing because of coincidence and because the script is kind of lazy. This is German director Tom Tykwer's follow-up to the kinetic Run Lola Run, and he again taps the intriguing Franca Potenta to star. This time she plays Sissy, a nurse in a downscale mental ward whose fate is altered one day as she's taking a walk with a blind patient. After a miraculous recovery, Sissy returns to the scene of the accident, looking for clues to the identity of the man who saved her life.
Kannst du mir helfen? Und dann?
That man is Bodo, played by Benno Furman. He's a brain-fried petty criminal who lives with his brother in a cabin that looks like it was built by the Unabomber. Tykwer is a gifted stylist, and the cast is really strong, but The Princess and the Warrior is self-conscious and self-congratulatory, and with a running time of 2 hours and 15 minutes, it's just too long.
Sag mal, von welchem Stern kommst du eigentlich?
Von hier.
Wie von hier?
Ich bin hier geboren.
gimmick of chance encounters is amusing at first, but it quickly becomes predictable. And the scenes in the mental ward were grimly misogynistic. Sissy provides sexual release to one patient and is literally a punching bag for another. It's as if she's a twisted porn version of a nurse in a psychiatric ward. Thumbs down.
Whoa, we're way apart on this. I think Tickfor really does a great job here. I like this movie a lot better than Run, Lola, Run. And I think you're unfair to blame him for taking joy in the fact that his structure is so complex and takes so much delight in folding back on itself and coming back around again. It's sort of like what he did in Run, Lola, Run, but it's, in my opinion, a lot better. And I think this movie is really amazingly entertaining.
I don't know why you're saying that this plot is complicated and clever. I mean, it's okay, she walks into the bank while they're robbing the bank because it's pure chance. And that happens so many times, and I understand that he's aware of that, but what I'm saying is he's showing us how gifted a stylist he is. A little too often with some of the camera moves.
Why not show us how
because then it's
gifted
not
a
about the
stylist he
story,
is?
Roger, and then I don't care about these people. And you know, the Sissy character, like I said, in the mental ward, I don't know what's going on in that place because nobody seems to be running. The inmates are literally running that asylum, and she's nuttier than anybody.
So that's you're describing the movie. That's not a criticism.
And I'm not finding it appealing to me, and I don't care about the characters, and what happens to them is so much arbitrary and so much dependent on those coincidences.
Well, this is a movie about
tired gimmick.
This is a movie about arbitrary things. It's a movie about coincidences. It's a movie about things you can't believe. It's a movie about how weird it all is. That's what it's about.
And it's a movie about a half hour too long.
Oh, no, come on.
It is.
Come on.
It is.
No, this is a good movie.
Too long. Well, I didn't think so. Okay, coming up, sure, she's married to the director, but she should be a star anyway. My video spotlight is next.
Because it's about purity.
In this week's video spotlight, Rebecca Pidgeon. There's a long tradition of directors casting their lovers in one film after another, until the breakup, that is. Mia Farrow and even Mia Farrow's furniture used to star in Woody Allen's movies, but these days, Helen Hayes has a better shot at a role in an Allen film, and she's dead. Lindsay Krause was once David Mamet's leading lady of choice on and off screen, but now his muse is his second wife, the tremendously talented Rebecca Pidgeon. Mamet's light but hilarious State and Maine marks their 9th collaboration.
I wrote my play on it.
You wrote a play on it. What play is that?
You never heard of it.
What's it called?
Anguish.
Anguish by Joseph Turner White. You're Joseph Turner White?
That's Philip Seymour Hoffman as a screenwriter on location in Vermont. In a twist that somewhat mirrors her own life, Pidgeon plays a witty iconoclast who becomes the screenwriter's muse.
Well, how do I do a film called The Old Mill when I don't have an old mill?
Well, first you got to change the title.
That Pidgeon is so good here as the lovely Anne and was so effective as a coldly efficient con artist in The Spanish Prisoner is a tribute to her range and to Mamet's skills. His writing is up to her acting and vice versa. Rebecca Pidgeon has the chops to become a star on her own, but she's lucky, and we're lucky, that her personal life has yielded a rich bounty of film work. If they stay together for decades, it'll be our good fortune, as evidenced by the wonderful video spotlight selection this week, State and Maine.
When we come back, the movie Answer Man wonders if The Wizard of Oz is really a thriller. The movie Answer Man has heard from Troy-Leen Ladner of New Jersey, who was surprised to find The Wizard of Oz on the American Film Institute's list of the 100 greatest thrillers of all time, along with E.T., the Extraterrestrial, since she doesn't think either one of them is a thriller. Mike Spurns of Newfoundland wrote in to say he was surprised by Raging Bull. I myself was a little startled to find 2001: A Space Odyssey and Lawrence of Arabia on the list. Funny, too, how Casablanca was number 2 on the FI's list of the 100 greatest films of all time, but only number 42 on the list of greatest thrillers. What all of this proves is that all lists of movies are meaningless and silly and exist only so that we can share our enthusiasm and so the AFI can raise money with a TV special. Since the AFI does good work, the movie Answer Man has nothing against their lists, just so long as no one thinks they really prove anything.
Well, of course, the most thrilling moment in motion picture history is Phoebe Cates getting out of the pool in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but that wasn't on the list either. Okay, recapping this week's movies, 2 thumbs up for Steven Spielberg's AI. It opens next week. But a split vote on The Fast and the Furious. Another split on Dr. Dolittle 2. And finally, one more difference of opinion on The Princess and the Warrior.
Remember, you can hear our reviews at Ebert-Roeper-Movies.com and read us in print at SunTimes.com. Next week, we'll be back with a review of Piper Perabo in Lost and Delirious, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Now, Haley Joel Osment in AI, I think he's the lead. Do you think he deserves an Oscar nomination?
I think so. You know, he is so good. This kid is going to go directly into adult roles. He's not going to have any glitch at all. He's just a great little actor.